Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Join the Patreon for this character sheet and a whole bunch more, and like and subscribe for a more comfortable chair next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building Martyr Logarius, my personal favorite boss from Bloodborne and an absolute undisputed best sitter in the history of video games. This dude is sitting on a stone chair on the top of a roof in Minneapolis for an inordinate amount of time. To be fair, maybe his butt just got frozen, like a tongue on a flagpole. Explains where his skin went.
This is next. That?
Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need to summon skulls like Yugi Moto, with tons of nasty necrotic damage for anyone who wants to see more of the castle. Speaking of, let's hide the castle, or at least part of it. The world doesn't need any more vile bloods. Finally, we need a decent sickle, and a decent sickle that we can wield in one hand, which creates a lot of problems. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just keep your multi-classing minimums in mind. Wisdom will be number 1. As an executioner, it's your job to track down the vile bloods. That means tracking skills, or just looking for the big castle. Dexterity next, your sickle can't use it, but that rapier probably can. Intelligence after that, I would imagine spending time with the healing church gives you some religious knowledge. Follow that up with constitution. We aren't actually going to need it as much for the bonkers-sized health bar, but concentration will be important. Charisma is a little low. You can lead the hunters, we just need other stuff more, and we'll dump strength. You're looking a little thin lately. When was the last time you ate something, Boobala? If we were building Martyr Logarius, we'd use a human, but it turns out I was reading your name wrong. You're definitely Martyr Logarius. I always assumed his first name was just Marty. That means we'll use Reborn, letting you add 2 to your dexterity and 1 to your wisdom, because you can distribute those however you like, as long as it's 2 and a 1. You also have 60 feet of dark vision and a deathless nature, so you don't have to eat, drink, breathe, or sleep. Instead, you can just sit still for 4 hours, or years. I have no idea how long you were on that roof. You also have advantage on death saving throws, advantage on saves against disease and poisoning, as well as resistance to poison damage. That's the power of your good old blood. Your knowledge from a past life lets you add a d6 to your skill checks, an amount of times per long rest equal to your proficiency bonus. You were once the best of the hunters. Some of that skill's gotta be stuck in you. I think the soldier background works really well for an executioner, giving you athletics and intimidation, and your fellow hunters will respect your rank. Okay. So, fair warning, I'm gonna do something real weird, and I'm really proud of it, so please don't hurt my feelings, or we'll never be friends. We never will be anyway. Parasocial relationships can be healthy, and I think it's important to acknowledge that, but I'll still actively dislike you if you don't hear me out here. Logarius is a druid. Druids get 2 spells from the druid list, like religion and medicine for the powers of Church of Doctoring. You also get druidic, a special language only druids know. The whole gosh dang game is weird bits of coded speech. Hopefully you can understand them. The best thing about Druid level 1 is cantrips, specifically Shillelagh. That lets you turn a quarterstaff into a Shillelagh that deals 1d8 damage, and you use your wisdom modifier even if it's only in one hand. Your sickle isn't really a sickle, it's like a staff thing, and I'd like to use a glaive like we did with Ruby from Ruby, but you use another weapon as well, so it can't be heavy. And the blade part is arcane, so there's some sort of spell being cast on it that makes it what it is. Guidance gives a creature a d4 to add to an ability check, helping your hunters be better than the wimpy Vilebloods. You also get first level spells. Detect magic lets you sense magical auras and the type of magic causing them. Transmutation and necromancy are what you're looking for. You can probably ignore any divination, that's just Bergenworth consulting with the old ones, no biggie. Thunderwave lets you force a constitution saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot cube in front of you, dealing 2d8 thunder damage to those that fail and pushing them back 10 feet for that big screaming skull. They take half damage and aren't pushed if they succeed, though I'm rubbish at dodging that one. Cure Wounds heals 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier to a creature you touch. Give your pals some of the old blood. It works on everything. It's like acetaminophen. Absorb Elements gives you resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage as a reaction, and you can add a d6 of that damage to an attack next round, really grabbing this to resist fire and bolt damage. You really have to get good to beat Marty. We'll also grab some physical spells like Long Strider and Jump for an extra 10 feet of movement speed and 3 times your jump distance. If you don't like those spells, good news, you don't have to take them. Druids prepare their spells on a long rest. I said short rest in a video once, and every single day I get comments telling me I was wrong. I know, I goofed, my bad. Maybe just Control F to see if someone already said it. I make a lot of videos. Sometimes I say the wrong stuff. Anyway, we're really here for the second level of Druid for a circle. The Circle of Spores is perfect for a guy obsessed with skulls and blood and death and unnaturally long life. You get Halo of Spores, letting you force a Constitution saving throw on creatures within 10 feet of you, dealing 1d4 necrotic damage to those that fail for a little exploding skull that blows up even when you're not actually attacking. See what I mean? How perfect is that? Symbiotic Entity lets you spend your wild shapes to double the Halo of Spores damage and add a d6 of necrotic damage to all of your weapon attacks. That's the little riffs of necrotic damage after each hit. Again, how perfect is this for Marty? Are you kidding me? You also get to give yourself temporary HP, equal to 4 times your druid level when you activate this. It even gives you unnatural health. My god, sometimes my mind blows my mind. If all that weren't enough, you get Chill Touch, letting you fire a ranged spell attack that deals 1d8 necrotic damage and prevents the target from healing. You might think you got away, but one of those skulls is gonna hit you, and then you get no more revenge healing. Bummer. You also get Wild Shape, but Logarius doesn't turn into cats, so don't. I'm also gonna clarify my stance on non-animal druid builds really quick. I will build druid characters that don't wild shape, but only if they have something else they could spend the wild shapes on. Druid is a great spellcasting class, even without wild shape, but holy moly, that'd be like playing a paladin that doesn't smite or a monk that doesn't use unarmed attacks. It's just kind of wasteful and weird, and there's probably a better way to build the character if you're not feeling like using wild shape and you don't use one of the biggest draws of a class. Third level druids can learn second level spells. Locate Object lets you know where an object is, and if it's moving, what direction it's moving in, which should help you track down the Vile Bloods. Here's a hint: look for flaming rapiers. Protection from poison removes an effect of poison and gives the target advantage on saves against being poisoned and resistance to poison damage for an hour. You wouldn't let one of your executioners die to some simple kunai. Lesser Restoration removes an effect of poison, disease, blindness, or deafness if you want to use the old blood for something other than hit points. Fourth level druids get an ability score improvement. We're going to start with Wisdom. In phase 1, you don't pull the sword out. We're just going to hit slow and hard with the Shillelagh Scythe. Fifth level druids can learn third level spells. Protection from energy lets you give creatures resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage for an hour depending on your concentration. If you're fighting a hunter who likes to use fire paper, pop this to save slots for absorb elements. That's actually the only third level spell I like for you. Scoop up other stuff if you like, but you could just use the extra slots to grab some more first or second level options. Sixth level spore druids get an excellent recruitment method with fungal infestation, letting you turn a creature into a zombie under your control for an hour, an amount of times per long rest equal to your wisdom modifier. So they won't last super long, but it's Bloodborne. Is anyone gonna make it more than an hour without dying? Seventh level druids get fourth level spells. You get Blight for free, forcing a constitution saving throw on a creature, dealing 8d8 necrotic damage to those that fail, half as much to those that succeed, for the biggest, nastiest skull. Freedom of movement lets you ignore difficult terrain. You can't be paralyzed or restrained, and nothing can slow you down. You can even break out of non-magical shackles with 5 feet of movement. Obviously, fighting on a shingled rooftop isn't an issue if you're just hovering. Locate creature lets you find a creature, either a specific creature or of a certain vaguer type. If you want to hide the Queen of Canehurst, first, you have to find the Queen of Canehurst. 8th level druids get another ability score improvement. Let's cap that wisdom for maximum casting and smashing with your scythe. You may move slow, but you'll be hitting with a damage die that's basically a d14. Not officially a d14, just basically. 9th level druids can learn 5th level spells. Cloud Kill sends a rolling cloud of death with a 20-foot radius, dealing 5d8 poison damage to those that fail a constitution saving throw, half as much to those that succeed. It rolls 10 feet forward every round and lasts for 10 minutes depending on your concentration. Sometimes your skulls are slow, though poison damage is worse than necrotic, but if they're weak to poison damage or even vulnerable to it, this is a great option. Greater Restoration removes a curse, an effect of charming or petrification, or a reduction to an ability score or HP total. It's the best you can get in terms of non-HP healing. 10th level spore druids get Spreading Spores, letting you yeet your spores while your symbiotic entity is up to fill a 10-foot radius for a minute, forcing a constitution saving throw on creatures inside, dealing 2d10 now since those skulls will get more and more deadly if you just want to rain down swords after stabbing a sword into the ground, but the swords are also arcane. Bloodborne's kind of weird. 11th level druids get 6th level spells. Heal is one of the best healing spells you can get for real HP, giving a creature 70 HP and curing blindness, deafness, or disease. Investiture of Air will let you fly, giving you a 60-foot flying speed. Ranged weapon attacks have disadvantage to hit you, and you can force a constitution saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot cube, dealing 2d10 bludgeoning damage to those that fail and pushing them back 10 feet, half as much to those that succeed, and no pushing. Mostly grabbing this for the flying speed, but it can be hard to shoot Marty when he takes to the sky, and he definitely knocks you off the frickin' building. 12th level druids get another ability score improvement or feat, and if we want to use that quarterstaff and sword, we need the dual wielder feat, letting you dual wield with 2 weapons that aren't light as long as they're not heavy. It also gives you +1 to your AC while you have a weapon in each hand, so there's a little benefit other than just some bigger weapons when you go to phase 2. 13th level druids can learn 7th level spells. Mirage Arcane makes an illusion in a 1-mile area that's visible, audible, olfactory, and tangible. I think that means it just tastes wrong because that's the other 4 senses. Just hide the back half of the castle, put a wall where a hall is supposed to be. Now nobody can find the queen, and you just gotta sit still, waking up every 10 days to recast. Maybe get some cocoa, build a snowman. He's gotta have hobbies out there, right? 14th level spore druids get a fungal body, meaning you can't be blinded, deafened, frightened, poisoned, or critically hit. Turns out literally chilling yourself for years at a time thickens your skin with a layer of frost and decayed flesh. Now I'm ready for phase 2. and you can be too if you hop over to Ranger. Multiclassing to Ranger gives you another skill like Survival to track down the Vile Bloods, and a favorite enemy you have advantage on tracking, I think humanoid or undead. Vile Bloods kind of tiptoe the line between. They're basically vampires. You also get Canny, letting you double your proficiency bonus with one skill. I think Religion would be my pick, though pick another one if you like, I won't judge you. Second level Ranger is where the real phase 2 begins, giving you a fighting style like 2-weapon fighting to add your ability modifier to the damage of your offhand weapon attack. Remember, fighting with 2 weapons lets you make an attack as a bonus action. Normally you don't get to add your ability modifier, and normally they have to be light weapons. Now you can rock a quarterstaff and a rapier, pop Shillelagh on your quarterstaff to make it hit a little harder, and remember that each attack deals an extra d6 of necrotic damage while you have symbiotic entity up. You can also jack that damage even higher with a ranger spell like Hunter's Mark, letting you pick a creature to deal an extra d6 of damage to with your weapon attacks, and you have advantage on tracking them for an hour depending on your concentration. That makes your damage a d8 plus 2d6 with each attack, so effectively a d20. Not actually a d20, it's probably a little better than a d20. You're going to hit more middle ranges than higher and low ranges. That's going to spill a lot of Vile Blood. Since we're multi-classing spellcasters, check page 165 of the player's handbook to figure out how many spells you have at any given level. Third level rangers can choose a Conclave, and Gloomstalkers are the edgiest, so that's probably the most at home in Yharnam. You're a Dread Ambusher, letting you add your wisdom modifier to your initiative rolls. You're 10 feet faster on the first round of combat, and you can make one more attack that round and add an extra d8 of damage to one attack per round. It might seem like you're using it to fully wreck someone, but honestly it just lets you use your bonus action for Hunter's Mark without as much of a penalty for not attacking with your bonus action. You also get Umbral Sight, adding 30 feet to your dark vision and making you invisible to creatures who rely on dark vision to see. Basically it's a blue elixir, which should already be useful on hunts. It's weird, we're kind of getting your backstory abilities after your boss fight abilities. Swap these around at home if you want. I'm not a cop. Fourth level rangers get an ability score improvement. Dexterity will get your AC and your weapon attacks with the sword better. Currently they're kind of mediocre. Marty gives me more of a spellcaster with some weapons vibe rather than a weapons with some casting vibes. Again, you can switch it up at home if you disagree, just don't tell me about it, I don't really want to know. Fifth level rangers get an extra attack, letting you make 2 attacks instead of 1 with your action. Then you've still got a third attack as a bonus action, so that's 3d8 plus 6d6 damage with your attacks when you're using Symbiotic Entity and Hunter's Mark, a very solid backup if you don't have spell slots left. We're actually going to cap this off with a level of Rogue because we don't really need 6th level ranger stuff, which would give us a climbing and swimming speed, or any 8th level druid spells. Even though Antipathy would be a great way to keep people away, there's nothing actually keeping people away from Canehurst, other than how horrifyingly obscure it is to get there if you haven't looked it up. Anyway, you get a free skill as a rogue like Perception, expertise in 2 more skills like Intimidation and Medicine, and Sneak Attack, letting you add an extra d6 of damage to your weapon attacks as long as you have advantage on the roll or an ally within 5 feet of the target and you're using a finesse or ranged weapon. This is only going to work with your rapier, and it's really more of a fun bonus from the expertise level than something we really needed, especially because you can only use it on 1 attack per turn. It's like an extra d6 or an extra 2d6 if you get an opportunity attack. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, you're deceptively bulky with a mediocre 120-ish HP, but you can add 56 temporary HP twice a day and heal yourself with old blood to stay in the fight for a long time. You're also dealing nice and consistent damage with tons of additions to all of your attacks in a first round that's even better thanks to Gloomstalker. Finally, Spore Druids deal damage even when it's not their turn, pretty much letting you make an opportunity attack against creatures every round with 2d12 necrotic damage while they're fighting you. For weaknesses, you don't get to cap off your dexterity modifier, so one of your weapons is going to be worse than the other. You're also low on strength, which could get you pushed off a roof. Actually, not really, since you can fly. Finally, you've got a lot of concentration spells and can only have 1 up at a time, so you need to choose what you want to use. But whatever you're going to use is going to spill so much Vile Blood, pump out that necrotic damage, change the arena, and stop everyone from joining the other murder club. Just watch out and know that as one who hunts monsters, you must be careful lest you get killed by a different monster. That's not how the quote goes. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Join the Patreon for this character sheet and a whole bunch more, and sub to Tulok and Mango to watch us play Bloodborne. That's where this background footage is from.